Hey guys, Marsling here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so we are back with the next episode of Fan Creation Friday, where I take in your fan created cards over in the Discord, and then me and the judges for the week, which include some of the mods and the winner of the previous week, go through the entries, pick some of our favourites, and those make it into the video. Obviously, I make the final decision on which one wins. This week, all the entries were very good, and there was definitely a struggle to pick the top ones. So the theme for this week was to create a Dokkan Fest giant form character. So obviously with the hype around the global first Great Ape EZAs, that seemed like a good theme for this week. Didn't have to be a Great Ape though, it could be any form of like giant form transformation. There was a bit of confusion, I think, among the entries. Some people made permanent transformation units. Some people made some strange choices, like I saw a Great Ape that raised defense on super attack when the Great Apes don't take any damage, so I thought that was an interesting choice. But yeah, there was definitely some good picks. As always with these episodes, they are supposed to be a bit of fun, something for the community. So, you know, everyone's entries were good. Don't feel too bad if yours didn't make it into the video. And obviously it is open to Discord members only, so if you want to join, ready for next week, the link to the Discord will be down in the description. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and jump over to the first of our top picks. Okay, so first up for this week, we have the entry from Kiryu the Dragon Warrior. And he created a very interesting entry, which I feel like would probably be like a Heroes card more than anything, because it is essentially a what if card. I believe this card, or at least this form, does exist in Heroes. So I'm a big fan of Heroes. We will definitely be doing a Heroes special episode in November before the Heroes banner comes out, because that kind of stuff is always exciting. But his concept is for a Super Saiyan 3 Xeno Gogeta, who is a Super Int unit. His leader skill would be Super Saiyan 3 or crossover, 3 key and 150 to stats. So pretty decent leader skill. There's a good crossover there. Crossover, yeah. Good crossover between those two categories. So I think that would be quite an interesting team. And then his super attack is the Atomic Big Bang Kamehameha. Raises attack for 1 turn, does immense damage to the enemy. And then his passive is attack and defense 130%. He gets an additional attack and defense 5% per key sphere obtained. So he has that nuking style passive. He has attacks effective against all types. And then he launches up to 2 additional super attacks when 5 or more key spheres have been obtained. And then Super Saiyan 3 category allies, key +2 and attack and defense 20%, chance to turn into the Great Ape once only. So he has quite a mixture of things. He has the attacks effective against all types, which is obviously good, nuking style passive, and if he can get 5 or more orbs, he can launch up to 2 additional super attacks. So this could be very, very good, very powerful, especially combined with being effective against all types and the fact that he raises attack for 1 turn, so each of those super attacks will be slightly more powerful. And he's a Super Saiyan 3 support unit, and that category definitely needs some help. So he has Fused Fighter, Super Saiyan, Fierce Battle, Prepared for Battle, Kamehameha, Saiyan Raw, and Limit Breaking Form. And then the transformation condition is the chance to turn into the Great Ape once only. I think when it's listed as just chance, I think it's like 10%. And then he transforms into Great Ape Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta. He does the Flaming Blast, which does immense damage. And then his passive is key +1 per key sphere obtained and attacks effective against all types. I said this when we were talking about the upcoming EZAs on Global. The fact that they really need to start giving Great Apes actual interesting either passives or super attack effects. So here, obviously, we solved the key issue by getting extra key per orb. So you're only going to have to pick up 3 orbs to get him to super attack, and he has effective against all types, so that's going to help the ape form do a nice little bit of extra damage, especially because one of the most annoying things about getting a Great Ape transformation is when you get it against an enemy where you have type disadvantage. And so if you're not critting, the Great Ape attacks are just doing no damage, so having effective against all types as the giant ape would obviously be really good. And then he'll be on Crossover, Dragon Ball Heroes, Super Saiyan 3, Kamehameha, Great Ape Power, Giant Form, Final Trump Card, Fusion, and Time Limit as well. So I think this card is awesome. If this was one of the cards on the Heroes banner, I would be super hyped to summon for it. So shout out to Kiryu the Dragon Warrior for this entry, and let us go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so next entry we have comes to us from Kenny Mcgee. I recognize that name from the streams. His unit is the Malicious Grudge Manifested Hachiak. So yeah, only the one Hachiyak in the game, the random free-to-play farmable one, did get an easy A while back. So actually having a summonable version, he is extreme tech, and his leader skill would be giant form or crossover. Key for HP 130, attack and defense 170. Definitely a solid leader skill. His super attack name and effect is the Revenger Cannon. Greatly raises attack for 6 turns, raises defense infinitely, and lowers attack and defense. So obviously very solid combination of super attack effects. Going to be very useful in varieties of different content. And then his passive, Hatred Amplification Device Evolution. So I'm liking these when people give the names for the passives and stuff, because obviously the Dokkan cards in the game have them, and some of these are pretty creative. So attack and defense 150%, all enemies attack and defense minus 66%. So in Super Battle Road, he is just going to be nerfing the enemy into the ground. He launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super when there's a Revenge, Giant Form, or Crossover ally attacking in the same turn. So it's a unit attacking in the same turn restriction, but it's 3 different categories, so it shouldn't be too difficult to meet that condition. And then he reduces damage received by 66% when HP is 50% or below. And then he turns into Giant Hachiyak when conditions are met. So this guy in Super Battle Road is just going to be an insane tank, especially if you drop below 50% HP, damage reduction of 66% while nerfing the enemy 66% attack is pretty crazy. His links are Hatred of Saiyans, Big Bad Bosses, Tough as Nails, Fear and Faith, Transform, Berserker, and Fierce Battle. So links staying in tune with the other Hachiyak unit, which unfortunately means he does get a few wonky links, but Big Bad Bosses, Fear and Faith, Fierce Battle, obviously solid, and then on the various teams you could run him on, Transform will be fairly common as well. And then the transformation condition is transforms into Giant Hachiyak when health is at 50% or below. So that means that this secondary part of his passive, he basically works like Tapion, where you drop below 50% HP and you transform, and then once that transformation ends and you go back into the normal turn, you're obviously still at 50% or below, and then you have 66% damage reduction. So when you drop below 50%, you're going to get the transformation first, and then once that ends, he has that damage reduction, so that's really good. And obviously this means you can use similar strategies for like Super Battle Road, where you just stay below 50% HP and go into the next fight and like chain transformations. So he becomes Giant Hachiyak, who does the Super Revenger Cannon, greatly raises attack and defense temporarily and causes destructive damage to the enemy. His transformed passive is receives an additional key +1 per key sphere obtained. Attacks effective against all types if you pick up a rainbow orb. So I quite like that. Greatly raising attack temporarily. This is kind of the thing that the apes have, where it's temporarily. So it means they don't stack with each super. But if they super attack and then get an additional super, they do get the raise on the second one. But then once that slot is finished, then when they do their second super attack of the turn, it will go back to being the original attack stat. You can see that in the Great Ape Showcase videos that are going up on the channel at the moment. So, but yeah, this one does have attack and defense. So the Great Ape, the Giant Hachiyak raises his defense despite not being able to take damage. But even so, very good. And obviously, again, we have the key issue solved with the key +1 per orb obtained. He's on Artificial Life Forms, Crossover, Revenge, and Giant Form. So he's on quite a few solid teams, only on 4 categories, but Artificial Life Forms obviously has a lot of solid options. Crossover is growing all the time, and then obviously, of course, Giant Form. Revenge is a good one for him to be on. Hachiyak won't be as defensive in the first slot until he gets off a super attack. The best time to get him in the first slot will be after your health gets to 50% or below, after the form ends and he has the damage reduction. So yeah, very, very solid unit overall. Obviously, you know, there's only one Hachiyak in the game, so you know, it would be good to get a new one at some point that's actually good. So this guy is definitely a solid one. So shout out to Kenny Mcgee, and let us go on to the next entry. Okay, so the next entry comes to us from Server. There's a note on here because he had to update a previous one. There was a slight mistake in it. So this is the actual finished version of his submission. So shout out to Server. I really like this one because obviously this is kind of on brand for me, the kind of unit that I would like to see. This is a Bardock and Tora together card, which is obviously very interesting. They are a super physical unit, and their leader skill is All Out Struggle, HP 150 and Attack and Defense 170, or Giant Form, HP, Attack and Defense 130. So All Out Struggle, that kind of is a fitting team for them to lead. And then of course with the Giant Form sub lead, you can always put in the other Great Ape Bardock units as well. The super attack name and effect is Blazing Saiyan Assault. Causes immense damage and raises allies' attacks by 30% for 1 turn. And then the passive is attack and defense 150. Then they get an additional attack and defense 70% if another Team Bardock category ally is on the team. They gain an additional key +1 and attack and defense 10% for every attack received, up to 3 key and attack and defense 70%. They guard all attacks when HP is under 70%. Become super effective against all types over 70% HP, and then giant form category allies key +2 attack and defense 25%. So this unit does a lot. They are supporting the giant form allies. Obviously you build up over time, getting some free extra key and a build up in stats as they receive attacks. And then, yeah, if you're below 70% HP, you're guarding, so stronger defensively. And then if you're above 70% HP, super effective against all types. So a nice little bit of extra damage. So very, very good unit. Fits in very well onto his teams. The links would be Team Bardock, Saiyan Warrior Race, Saiyan Pride, the Saiyan Lineage, Solid Support, Prepared for Battle, and Fierce Battle. The transformation condition is activates when this unit enters the battle when HP is under 70%. So again, like with the Tapion or the previous one we saw for the Hachiyak, if you're starting like a second fight on Super Battle Road and you're under 70% HP, they are going to transform straight away. Now, the thing to note is their Giant Ape transformation is only for 1 turn. So they transform into Great Ape, Bardock and Tora, but their super attack is destructive damage to the enemy, which is a decent damage modifier, but they also get, as their passive, additional key +1 and attack 20% per orb obtained. So this is the kind of thing that I would like to see on a Great Ape unit. I guess this is why they only transform for 1 turn, because obviously if you're lucky enough to string together quite a decent selection of orbs, they're attacking like 3 times. They're going to do a ton of damage with each of those attacks. So I would assume the way this would work if the mechanic was implemented into the game is obviously this 20% attack would be for each of the 3 separate super attacks. Obviously if you pick up 3 orbs each time, the 3rd attack is not getting the equivalent of 9 orbs. Although, I mean, that wouldn't even be that crazy OP. Like, it'd be pretty powerful, but considering you only get the transformation for 1 turn, it would actually be really cool if it worked like that. Because if you manage to get, like, you know, 15 orbs or something in total across those 3 attacks, it means that 3rd attack would be having like an extra 300% attack, which would be pretty good. So their categories are Team Bardock, Pure Saiyans, Low Class Warriors, Space Traveling Warrior, Story Figures, Giant Form, All Out Struggle, Giant A Power, and Joined Forces. So a lot of good teams, and they fit in very nicely. Even if you're not having like Giant Form allies to support, having a Team Bardock ally on the team, obviously we just recently had the Easy A for physical LR Bardock, so it doesn't have to be one of the like free-to-play or Great Ape Team Bardock units. And of course, being super physical, you could run him with that LR Easy A on like Extreme Super Battle Road, so that would be really, really good. So I really, really liked this one. A couple of the judges picked this one as well. Very, very cool. So shout out to Server for this one, and let us move on to the next one. Okay, so next up we have the entry from Gogeta, who is a previous FCF winner, and he is definitely on top form again this time, because this one was a very close second. Multiple judges and myself put this on our list of like top 3, including Sin. Shout out to him again, the previous winner and the guest judge for this week. However, this one, like I say, very close second. This one was very, very good. So this is a Anin unit. Now, there is one unit for her on JP. She is a character from the OG Dragon Ball. So some people out there might not recognize the name, but she does transform into a giant version of herself. So obviously she is a perfect pick for a giant form unit. So she is a super physical unit. Her leader skill is Giant Form category, 3 key, 170 to stats, or Peppy Gals, 3 key and 150. The idea of running a bunch of Peppy Gals together with a bunch of giant apes is really amusing to me, so it's a very interesting combo for the leader skill. The super attack name and effect is Divine Feather Throw. Greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn. Does immense damage to the enemy. So very solid super attack effect. And then her passive is Guardian of the Sacred Furnace. Key +2, attack and defense 130%. Then she gets an additional attack and defense 80% when key is 12. Peppy Gals or Giant Form or Realm of Gods category allies, key +2 and attack and defense 30%. Now it does say or, so this will be separate from the way like Vados and Margarita work, where you can get multiple by being in multiple of the categories, because it is giving 2 key and 30%, so still very solid. Reduces damage received by 30% with 2 or more key spheres obtained. All allies chance to perform a critical hit 20% with 3 or more orbs obtained, and then an additional attack and defense per key sphere obtained if you collect 4 or more, and then guards all attacks with 5 or more key spheres obtained. So she has the potential to do a lot of different things depending on the amount of orbs that you're able to pick up. So obviously running her alongside an orb changer is definitely going to be a super good idea to get access to all of these really good abilities. But she's providing support. She's also providing a bit of extra support to the teammates with that critical hit chance by getting a certain amount of orbs. So, and then of course, once you get 4 or more orbs, she's also a nuking style unit. So, I mean, she has the potential to be insanely powerful. Her links are the Incredible Adventure, Guidance to the Dragon Balls, the Innocence, Battlefield Diva, Infighter, Transform, and Fierce Battle. So obviously for a Dragon Ball Saga character, these are links that are very common in that team. So it makes sense for her to have these. And then the transformation condition is she actually transforms via an active skill. Can be activated upon entering the 3rd turn of the battle and can be activated 4 times. So there's more info at the end. So she becomes the giant form version of Lord Anin. Her super attack greatly lowers enemies' attack and defense, does immense damage with a great chance to stun. And then her transformed passive, key +2, attack and defense 150, an additional 90% when key is 12, reduces damage received by 10% up to 60, and chance to perform an additional super 10% up to 60 per Peppy Gal's Giant Form or Realm of Gods ally on the team. So if you build the team correctly, she's got solid damage reduction and a really great chance to additional super attack, which is really, really good. Attacks become super effective against all types with 5 or more spheres obtained. Get a guaranteed crit with 7 or more key spheres obtained. All allies key +2 per key sphere obtained when this character is the first attacker of the turn. All allies plus 30% chance to dodge, and attack and defense 20% when this character is the 2nd or 3rd attacker in the turn. So obviously doing quite a lot here, just becoming like a supercharged version of the previous form. You still need to get multiple orbs to be able to unlock the different levels of abilities, and you do need more orbs to get to the top tier abilities for this transformation. So you definitely want to be running an orb changer with this unit. She's on Realm of Gods, Peppy Gals, and Giant Form. It says here the Giant Divine Dance is her fighting Goku in her Giant Form. The active skill can be used to transform her into her giant form, and while she doesn't have the typical rage mode, she can be transformed back to her normal form using the active skill again. This allows to have full control over which form you want to use. Links won't change upon transforming. So this is a really interesting way of looking at a giant form unit. It's a little bit outside the box from what I was expecting, but obviously, you know, I do like these custom cards when they are being a little bit more on the interesting side. So this one is a lot of reading, it's a lot of text on a card, that's for sure, but it's very in-depth, very well thought out, and a very, very strong card. Like I say, this one was definitely a close second. I think if I had to pick any sort of negative to excuse why it didn't win, Dragon Ball Saga is not as hyped for a large majority of the players. Obviously, as someone, I've only watched the OG Dragon Ball once, so I actually had to double check who Anin is, because her card isn't out on Global. So I know that makes me a filthy casual fake fan, I'm sure. But yeah, this one was a super close second place. It was tough to decide between this one and the first place one. So very strong entry from Gogeta this week. So let us move on to the final entry. Okay, so last but of course not least, we have this week's winning entry, and this comes to us from Inferno. So congratulations to you. Like I say, the previous one was a very close second. This one was also picked by multiple of the judges. I had a very tough time deciding between these two. I got everybody to vote between the top two as to which one they thought was the best. And so with all the votes put together, mine, the other mods, Sint, this was the one that came out on top as the winning card for this week. So Inferno's submission is a Extreme Tech Lord Slug. So Dominating Terror, Lord Slug. His leader skill is Giant Form or Terrifying Conquerors. Key +3, HP attack and defense 170. So pretty solid combination of categories for his leader skill. The super attack name and effect is the Power of Darkness, does immense damage to the enemy, great chance to perform a critical hit for 1 turn. So this is that sort of mechanic where if this great chance goes off, then I believe the additional supers are then guaranteed to be crits. So very, very good super attack effect. The passive is Ki +3, attack and defense 160%. High chance to activate regeneration, which is the animation of Slug regrowing an arm at the start of the turn. So I guess it's kind of like a support memory almost, like a built-in support memory, because it's like a short animation that plays at the start of the turn, which will recover 9% HP and give you a 30% attack and defense buff for the turn. So there's a 50% chance of that happening each turn. And then you get an additional attack and defense 30% and a medium chance to stun all enemies at the start of the turn when facing 3 or fewer enemies. So he's going to be super, super good for Super Battle Road for any of the fights that are 3 or less. He nullifies blast type super attacks when facing only 1 enemy or when receiving the attack from a movie heroes category enemy. So he's going to have extra defense and a chance to stun against multiple enemies. And then when you drop down to 1, or if you only have 1, like some of the longer form, more difficult content, he nullifies blast type super attacks, which is going to be very, very effective. If you combine this with any form of unit that allows you to see super attacks, like the STR EZA Jace, who's on Terrifying Conquerors, then this effect could be incredibly powerful. So his links are Namekians, Nightmare, Metamorphosis, Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, Transform, and Fierce Battle. Obviously, Namekians is a bit of an oof if you're not running him on that team, but Nightmare, Metamorphosis, Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, Fierce Battle, all common links on those teams. And obviously if you're bringing other giant form units, Transform is as well. So he has the active skill into the giant mode for 1 turn. It can be activated from the 3rd turn once only, and that will transform him into the Giant Lord Slug. His super attack is the Darkness Blaster. It does destructive damage to the enemy and guarantees a critical hit. So this is a mechanic that we've seen introduced, like STR Super Vegeta has this, and he just has it all the time. So I think a great ape unit having it, especially when they're only in the giant form for 1 turn, I don't think is overpowered whatsoever. And then the passive is Ki +1 and attack 13% per Ki sphere obtained. So he has a nuking style passive, attack and defense 10% for detransformed state per turns waited until transforming into giant form up to 60. So basically what this means is the longer you wait to transform into the giant form, once you transform back again into normal after that 1 turn, you then get a permanent attack and defense up to 60% depending on how long you wait to use it. So you can use it in short-term events to take advantage of its destructive capability, or you can wait 6 turns, use it in a longer event, or save it for even longer than that. And then once you've untransformed, you're getting this massive extra buff as well. So having the nuking style passive with guaranteed crits means that the ape form, well, I always say ape form for the giant form units, but the giant form is going to do quite a significant amount of damage if you can pick up a bunch of orbs, which is really, really good. And then you get a nice buff for after transforming, which I think is a really interesting, nice touch. The fact that the unit is actually getting a buff post transformation with this build. So I do really, really like this entry. Like I say, it was super difficult to pick between this one and the previous entry from Gogeta, but this one ended up being the winner. I really like the keeping the buff after transformation, and I think the ape mode, the giant mode, having guaranteed crits and the nuking style passive is really, really strong as well. So shout out to Inferno. Obviously you'll get to be the guest judge on the next episode. If you want to be a part of the next episode, make sure you join the Discord. The link is in the description. I usually post a poll where people can vote on the theme for the upcoming week's episode on a Sunday, and then I confirm the result and post the form to fill in on the Monday. So if you do want to take part, make sure you join the Discord. Shout out to everybody who put in an entry. Like I said at the beginning, we can't put them all in. There's always a ton of entries every week, so I do want to thank all of you guys for taking part and supporting the series. Even if it's just watching the videos, even if you don't submit a card, I do really appreciate all the support from this series. And if you didn't make it in, back to the drawing board, and maybe you will get lucky next week. So shout out to everyone who entered. That is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.